name's Chris Bryan. I'm Media Relations for TransLink. Planning to keep our customers moving even if severe weather hits. It's November, and thankfully Farmer's Almanac is predicting a normal winter for us on the West Coast, the kind of mild winter that we're used to. But regardless of any predictions, it's important that we always prepare for winter's worst. It's important that we're ready in case we get the heavy snow and prolonged periods of ice and cold like we did 2 years ago. In a moment, you'll hear from Mike Richard, Vice President of Operations for SkyTrain, and Don Palmer, Vice President of Operations for Coast Mountain Bus Company, who will share their plans for winter. They'll tell us about the many things TransLink does to maintain safe, reliable service when winter storms hit Metro Vancouver. And once we've heard from them, we'll take questions from the media, and then we'll break out and do some demonstrations of some of the equipment we use to keep transit moving in winter weather. So now, without further ado, I'd like to pass things over to Mike Richard, Vice President of Operations for SkyTrain.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everybody. As Chris mentioned, every year we at SkyTrain, we do a number of things to prepare for snow and ice conditions. We move a lot of people on the 3 SkyTrain lines, Expo, Millennium, and Canada Line, approximately 500,000 boardings a day, and we take that responsibility very seriously. But like the cars and buses on the roads, airports, the ferries, the SkyTrain, we too will run into challenges during snow conditions, and some of the biggest ones that we have include things like our track intrusion alarms being triggered when we have snowfall, movement of track switches being blocked by ice and snow that fall from the trains as the trains cross the switches, ice buildup on our power rails that affects the transfer of power from the wayside to the trains. We have issues with snow-laden trees, branches breaking off, falling into the tracks, and we also have the lingering effects of accumulated snow and ice in the track bed after the snowfall. When chunks of ice and snow start falling on the tracks, it triggers our intrusion detection system, which sends a signal to stop the trains. It's a great safety feature, but it causes some serious disruptions to our customers, and we have to check the track each and every time to ensure that it's safe to proceed. To address this, and when alarms start going off frequently, we'll place staff on platforms or on the front of the trains and turn off these detection systems, so it allows us to keep the system moving without these the disruptions caused by the alarm trips. For track switches, when they're blocked by snow and ice, we have switch heaters that essentially heat up the ice that drops into the switch mechanism and melts the buildup. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but the intent is that they're hot enough that they will melt any ice and allow the switch to move freely. When we expect ice buildup on the power rails, we do a couple of things. We send out a special train equipped with a de-icing agent that sprays this agent on the power rail to prevent ice buildup before it starts. We also activate power rail heat tracing in critical areas, which heats the surface of the power rails, preventing moisture from freezing. You might recall that this was a major challenge for us a couple of years on Canada Line, but our concessionaire ProTrans has done a great job installing 2 kilometers of heat tracing in the areas that were affected 2 years ago. They've also installed over 1.5 kilometers of cover board in those exposed areas as well to protect the ice buildup on top of the power rails. We had no issues last year, and we're optimistic that these measures will continue to be effective over time going forward. To help prevent trees or branches from falling into the tracks and to ensure the safety of the customers and system, we have an arborist that does a study of all of our alignment, looking for trees that could be a hazard for us, and we'll trim them in advance of the winter weather just to make sure that we don't have things falling in. Canadian Pacific, who owns all of the right-of-way for West Coast Express, they too have stepped up and recently installed a number of switch heaters on their tracks to prevent frozen switches. And they also assess their alignment for trees. For us, since no 2 winters are ever the same, and every winter since the first major snowfall that we experienced here in 1988, we review our performance every year. We look for best practices, we look for lessons learned, and we change our plan. We reissue it every year based on our experiences from the previous year, and we look to improve time after time after time. On a practical measure, all of these measures, what I'm talking about here, they're all intended to keep the service reliable, on time and running as expected for our customers. And that's what it's really all about, keeping the system moving for our customers. And that's it for us. Now I'd like to turn it over to Don Palmer, Vice President of Operations for Coast Mountain Bus Company.
Okay, thanks, Mike, and thank you everyone for being here today. As I'm sure you know, Coast Mountain Bus Company's buses reach virtually every corner of Metro Vancouver. On an average weekday, there are over 900,000 boardings on these buses. Every time someone gets on the bus, we count that as a boarding. That means every second, 11 people are boarding a bus somewhere in our region. That's a lot of people relying on us to get them to where they need to go. And we take this responsibility very seriously. We're doing a lot of work throughout our company to make transit more attractive. We're working hard to find ways to make our buses faster, more convenient, and more reliable every day. And around this time of year, we're finalizing our plans and looking for new ways to reduce the effect that winter weather has on our service. Anytime weather becomes a concern, we communicate with Environment Canada. And if road conditions warrant, we begin rolling out our snow response plan. It's a well-oiled machine. If we expect near zero temperatures, we dispatch trucks in the middle of the night to apply an anti-icing agent to our trolley wires. In a span of just a few hours, these 3 trucks coat the entire 300-kilometer system to prevent ice from delaying our customers' journeys. At our bus depots and exchanges, staff and hired contractors salt and sand and remove snow to keep sidewalks and access ways clear for our customers and for our buses. If snow is heavy and frequent, we know it can be tough for cities to keep the streets clear. We've been meeting with cities across the region to establish priority snow clearing corridors. These are the streets that are cleared first and often to allow our buses access to our customers. Then, when a major storm strikes, these key routes can connect people to SkyTrain and busy centers. The bus company also makes adjustments to the way we operate to keep buses moving on snowy days. If our articulated buses run into challenges on icy hills, we switch them out for 40-foot conventional buses. While they don't carry as many people, these buses have better traction and help ensure customers can count on reliable service. And as you may know, last year we tested tire socks on our Burnaby Mountain routes. There wasn't much snow last year, so it wasn't possible to thoroughly test them. But on the 2 days we used them, our bus operators serving Burnaby Mountain reported positive improvements in traction. That's why we're expanding the use this year. In addition to the runs that go from Production Way University Station to SFU, we're also ready to deploy them on the 210 Upper Lynn Valley Center, and the 232 Grouse Mountain, Edgemont if required. When heavy snow hits, the problem areas in our region are fairly predictable. So, in the future, we're exploring the wider use of tire socks, targeting the bus routes that most often run into difficulty on icy streets. One thing we learned from those 2 days of tire sock testing is that we'd like to see their durability improve. We're working closely with the manufacturer to find ways to make tire socks last longer before they need to be replaced. It's important to us that we do everything we can to maintain service for our customers, and we're always looking for ways to improve when winter is at its worst. Thank you. That's it for me. I'll pass things along to Chris.
Thanks very much, Don. Before we take questions, I'd like to just conclude with some information that's important for our customers to always keep in mind. We want to ensure they have a safe and positive transit journey, regardless of what the weather might throw at us this year. If there's snow or ice, we encourage people to always remember to dress for the elements, wear proper footwear, dress warmly, and expect occasional service disruptions throughout the day. If there's a major winter storm, as we had 2 years ago, even with all the things we do to keep service reliable, there may be disruptions. We encourage people to remember to plan ahead, give themselves extra time, and also to sign up for alerts on our website. It's the best way really to know exactly the up-to-the-minute information about the routes that you're traveling on. Finally, we want our customers to know about our commitment to you. We're absolutely committed to getting you the information you need when and where you need it to ensure a safe and positive travel experience. We know we don't always get it perfect, but we want you to know that we're continuing to improve the way we communicate to our customers. Okay, so that concludes the formal remarks. Thank you, everyone. We can take some questions from the media.
Yeah, I'm particularly interested in these bus socks and what the plans are going forward. If we could just get some more details on
Tire socks?
Yeah,
For sure. Let's bring up, actually, Don Palmer, please, up to the front. We have Simon here as well, who can provide if there are any detailed questions. And
so what's the scale here in terms of the increased use of bus socks?
The increased use?
Or the tire socks, yeah.
The tire socks? I think Simon, you probably do better.
Well, if you could just get a microphone here.
So,
and if you could just say your name as well.
yeah, morning everyone. My name is Simon Agnew, so that's SIMONAGNEW. Yeah, so like Don mentioned, we're expanding to 2 new routes on the North Shore. They're going to be sort of like shuttle routes on the upper levels, the 210 and the 232. And we're going to have buses running those routes with tire socks. We're going to have Coast Mountain technicians along the route to monitor the wear on them and replace them as necessary. So that's.
What was the experience last year with those tire socks?
The experience was generally quite positive. So we went up on Mount Seymour and we did some testing with some buses with tire socks and without, and we found the performance is actually quite improved by installing the tire socks. So we were really impressed by that. So we made the decision to carry out the plan to do shuttle routes up SFU when we needed to, and so we did two days of running, and we found we were able to get about 50 kilometers or roughly 2 hours of running before they needed to be replaced. So that was really valuable information because now we know like kind of what we can expect as far as the durability goes and how much maintenance they need. And then we also saw that we got some confirmation that they do work and they do help improve traction. So
it sounds like they're wearing out pretty quickly, though. What is the conversation in terms of cost effectiveness of just getting winter tires versus these tire socks? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I mean, there's a few options. The tire socks, the cost actually isn't that high, and also there's a lot of benefits that come with them as well. So they're really easy to carry. They're very easy to install. They don't do damage to the bus. So if you were to run, say, like a cable chain, you're much more likely to cause damage to the bus, which can be very expensive. As far as using like a quote-unquote winter tire, the tire we run does have a winter rating, so it is rated to be able to handle winter conditions. So it carries the 3-peak mountain snowflake on the sidewall, which means it's been tested and approved in winter conditions. So we've looked on the market at sort of maybe a more like a heavier duty, heavier tread tire, but we feel just that for the kind of climate we have here in Vancouver and in the winter, where it's mainly just rainy conditions, the tire we run we feel is the best tire. Also, I mean, if we were to outfit our entire fleet with like a quote unquote snow tire, it'd be close to 10,000 tires. So it'd be a huge effort for our technicians to try and handle, and even the storage of it and the purchasing of that many tires to maybe offer slightly better performance for the odd day where we do get a significant amount of snow. It's just at this point we feel the better strategy is just to use the tire we have now in combination with the tire socks and some of the things Chris and Don talked about. So communicating with our customers, regular driver training, and also just regular maintenance on the buses.
In terms of the durability aspect of these tire socks, what is the manufacturer saying in terms of what is potentially possible here, and would these more durable tire socks be a lot more expensive to buy?
We haven't talked about cost of a new prototype or a new product. Right now, we're just working with them on, like, we've given them our feedback of what we encountered when they were failing on the buses, and we've suggested to them ways we think that they can be improved. So that's kind of where that's at right now.
Other questions from the floor?
Have you heard from any other jurisdictions across the country, like Calgary, that are looking at this as a benchmark? I understand you guys are possibly the first transit authority in North America.
Yeah, I think we are. We're in touch with other transit agencies regularly, especially when the weather gets like this, because we're all kind of wondering what how each other deals with this. We did get some calls from Calgary, just curious about them, so we provided them with some information. But as far as I know, we're currently the only transit agency that's using these.
Okay. Another question from behind there. Yeah.
Hi, two things. First, I'm just wondering how much each tire sock costs.
A set of tire socks costs about $250 for us.
And then you said installing them is quite efficient. How much time does it take to install a set, and how big of a delay can pass on customers?
We train our technicians to install them, and to safely do it, it takes less than 5 minutes. Yeah.
We have a question over here on this side. Anything? What are you doing? Sorry? No? Yes? No. Okay. Any other? Sorry, Calvin, do you have a question over there to get you?
I'm just wondering, SFU, that's sort of been an issue, a lot of buses getting canceled and stuff when there is snow. So is there anything that's being done differently this year to prevent some of the cancellations of buses from SFU?
Well, we're going to continue the tire sock usage from production way up to SFU, and also we work with SFU, like their snow removal, their facilities department. And I was up there last winter when we did have those few days of heavy snow, and I did notice that they're doing a really good job at keeping the roads clear. So I think that goes a long way too, because if they can keep the roads clear, it gives us a much better chance of continuing service.
And on that subject of road clearing, are municipalities doing enough? Have they been doing enough as far as road clearing to keep buses running?
We'll put that to John Palmer. He's in charge of that stuff.
Yes, the municipalities have been great to partner with. We've done a lot of work with priority snow corridors. So in a worst case scenario, we're going to try to keep at least a north-south, east-west corridor, preferably trying to connect to a SkyTrain station or a bus loop to keep people moving. But they've been great to work with. Yes.
Okay. Other questions? Need you?
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand you guys said a pair of tire socks goes either 50K or 2 hours, and you're saying a pair is $250. So how is that efficient? I'm just trying to wrap my head around the numbers versus how long they last.
Well, it's not an exact science. So road conditions, dry pavement. If we're running the socks on dry pavement, they're gonna wear out a lot quicker. But if we run them in ideal conditions on snow, they'll last a lot longer. So again, we didn't really get the opportunity to thoroughly test these tire socks last winter because we only had a few days, and it was just a limited ability to really put them to their paces. But typically, on average, that's what we get. So we're still in the testing phase right now.
Okay. Question from behind.
Sorry, so just how much is money being saved by using the tire socks over the winter tires? What's the cost of them for people to use?
So for the North Shore expansion, expanding the tire socks to the North Shore, we're anticipating around a $9,600 cost. We're not asking for any additional funding. We're going to absorb that through our operating budget. So there's compared to, I'm not quite sure. Maybe Simon can step in and tell you what the price of a snow tire is roughly.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky question to answer. We lease our tires from Michelin, so we haven't really. I don't have a price for again a quote unquote snow tire, because the tire we run we lease it through Michelin and that's the tire that's been recommended for us for this climate here. We think so. When you look at the big picture of again how many buses we have and how much labor and effort would be involved in that, and also some of the drawbacks that come with running like a dedicated snow tire, we think we are saving money this way.
Simon, you might speak to the fact that the tires we use are ideal for typical conditions here. So it's with tire shops, we're able to deploy them in localized circumstances where there are problem areas. We switch all our tires to winter tires. They don't perform as well under typical Vancouver conditions.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So if we were to run a more winter style tire, it would probably cost more, because in the summer months it would wear down really quickly. So because these tires, we run them throughout the entire year, so we're looking for something that performs well in the summer where we have a lot of hot, dry days, so the pavement's really warm, and so we're looking for a tire that has good durability, good comfort levels, is quiet, and has good fuel efficiency. So if you run a winter tire, you're losing all those performance benefits. And then again, with the most of the winter weather that we have here, it's mainly rainy. We need a tire that performs well on wet roads, and again, that's the tire that we're running. So,
yeah. Can you use these tire socks on articulated buses, or is this mainly just on the shorter buses, standard buses?
So far, we've only tried them on 40-foot buses. Obviously, like articulated buses generally don't handle as well in the snow. It's just a characteristic of the way that they are. I think we're gonna keep trying them on the 40-footers and get some more experience with them, and I can certainly see looking at that as a possibility in the future. But I think first we just want to try them out some more on 40-footers, just to get some more information about how they perform.
Any other questions? Over here from CTV.
Just wondering, just for the average person who's riding a bus in the winter, they see the hill, they see the snow, and they're wondering, am I going to get home? They see these tire socks. What is the likelihood that that's going to ease their mind, or they're going to get to where they're going?
Well, I mean, obviously, some of the conditions we get here can be pretty challenging for any vehicle to get up. But like, we were really actually quite impressed with how well they work. So if I had to choose between a bus with tire socks on it and not, I would definitely pick the one with the tire socks on it. I rode along with some operators when we were driving, helping moving customers around, and they all remarked at just how well they thought they were working, and these were operators with quite a bit of experience. So yeah, they were quite effective.
Okay. Any other questions before we close? Okay, thank you. We will close this portion, and we will now go to the breakout sessions. So